Welcome to the fourth video of Unit 4, Part 2. This is the final section of your notes packet for the Roman Empire. And the topic for this video is the decline, division, and fall of the Roman Empire. So we're going to learn about all of the contributing factors that led to the fall of the Roman Empire. And some of them, you'll notice, are similar to those that led to the fall of the Roman Republic. After the period of Pax Romana, which lasted about 200 years, from 27 BC or BCE to 180 AD or CE, the Roman Empire was plagued by many problems. We're going to go through some of those here. First, political problems. The political problems include the following. There was no established method for how an emperor should replace another. So we have already talked about this, how many emperors there were that were assassinated because there was no set way for power to be passed on. This leads to many years of civil war and weak leaders. Between 235 and 285 CE or AD, no fewer than 20 to 25 people claimed the throne. So emperors are not going to rule for very long when they come to power. They ruled on average about 2 to 3 years. All but 2 were murdered or died in battle. So the other 2 would have died naturally, but 23 of the 25 were killed either in battle or assassinated. The emperors who survived were typically corrupt and spent money on themselves rather than helping the empire. Number 2, problems with government. People no longer viewed emperors as gods, as they previously had. Corruption of the leaders causes the people to lose faith in Rome. Religion, which becomes the major religion becomes Christianity, becomes more important to people than following the word of the emperor. Continuing with problems with government is that wealthy landowners and provincial governors, governors of provinces or regions of Rome, formed their own armies and frequently ignored orders from Rome. So we see this is similar to what happened in the Roman Republic, where the wealthy, the patricians, are going to form their own armies that are going to follow their needs, their wants. 3, geographic size. At its peak, the Roman Empire covered 2.2 million square miles, spanning 3 continents. 35 modern countries have land that was once controlled by Rome. The huge size of the empire made it difficult to defend and administrate. For example, hundreds of miles of roads, aqueducts, forts, ports. There was just too much for one emperor to control. The fact that the empire was so large made it very difficult to make sure everything got done, everyone was taken care of. It was a very, very large area. This shows your representation. So the white is water, the gray is land, the green is also land, but that is land owned by the Roman Empire. So you see how massive the Roman Empire was. This here is Italy. To give you reference, we have Northern Africa. It spans the entire area of Northern Africa. It covers France, Gaul, which becomes, Spain, and then Gaul, which becomes France. We have Macedonia covered, we have Anatolia covered, and even further. It doesn't go all the way to the Indus River over here, but it does go to the Caspian Sea. Not all citizens or members of the empire were loyal to Rome. And 4, another problem, military changes. Non-citizens and mercenaries joined the army. Remember, mercenaries are individuals who are hired to fight for someone. So their only loyalty is their paycheck. So they joined the army. They were not as well trained or as loyal to Rome, which reduced the quality of the army. The military was also increasingly involved in politics. Men started to join the army to one day gain political power. So they weren't joining the army to fight for Rome, they were joining the army so that they could one day have power. 5, economic problems. The empire's wealth had been obtained or had been received, or they had achieved this wealth from trade, foreign conquest, and farming. So trading goods, foreign conquest, meaning as they expanded, they took over new regions, and farming. So the problems are that trade was increasingly disrupted by pirates, barbarian tribes, and other foreign enemies, and farmland was overused, which caused a drop in production. If you use the same farmland every year to plant crops, eventually all of the nutrients in the soil are going to be used up. So what farmers have discovered is that they have to rotate fields. They cannot use the same field every single year. If you give a field a few years off from producing crops, then the nutrients are able to resupply. But in Rome, the farmland is overused, which causes a drop in production. Also, the dependence on cheap slave labor discouraged advances in farming technology. Why make farming more efficient when you can just capture more slaves? So not a lot of achievements occur in terms of agriculture and technology. The cost of maintaining the army and protecting the borders was a huge tax burden. The empire was so large that they needed so many troops to defend the borders. And we're going to see in just a second that there were a lot of attacks on the empire from barbarian tribes and from Germanic tribes, which Romans consider barbarians. And so the cost of the necessary number of troops was just way too high. In an effort to help pay for wars, the Roman government began to put less silver in their coins, making the coins less valuable. The devaluing or lessening of value of money is called inflation. We've spoken of this already as well. A drop in the value of money and a rise in prices. Because now that these coins are less valuable, they literally have less silver in them, they hold less value, merchants are going to charge more for the things that they're selling to try and make up that amount that they're losing in this less valuable silver. So they're charging more, but the coins are valued at a lesser amount. This is inflation. Emperor Diocletian in 284 came to power, and he helped restore some temporary stability to the empire. His idea is to increase the size of the army, set fixed prices for products to limit inflation, and to require that farmers stay on their land. He also divided the empire into two parts so it was easier to control: the Western Latin-speaking portion and the Eastern Greek-speaking portion. Now this is very important. He splits the empire in two. He is going to take one side of the empire, and he is going to have another emperor rule the other side of the empire. So he is dividing it to try and make it more manageable. So the Western Latin-speaking portion and the Eastern Greek-speaking portion. Easy to remember because the Eastern portion covers Greece, so Greek-speaking. The Western portion will be the Latin-speaking side. So everything that is the reddish-pink color here is Western Roman Empire. The orangish color here is the Eastern Roman Empire. Diocletian took over the wealthier Eastern Empire and appointed a co-emperor to rule the West. Each emperor had an assistant emperor, which was supposed to simplify succession, meaning when the emperor died, the assistant would be the one who became the new emperor. When Diocletian died in 313 CE, a civil war broke out and many of his reforms were abandoned. Then we get to Emperor Constantine, who ruled from 306 to 337 AD, or CE. Emperor Constantine reunified the empire, meaning brought it all back into one empire, but he moved the capital to Byzantium, a Greek colony in Anatolia. Constantine renamed Byzantium Constantinople after himself. By the time of Constantine, the city of Rome was a shell of its former self. So the Roman Empire, originally the city of Rome was the capital. Constantine is going to change this. He is going to make Byzantium the capital, and rename it Constantinople. Because Rome, the city of Rome, was not how amazing and large and magnificent as it once was. The population had dropped, trade was reduced, and its culture was in a state of decline. So he moved the capital from here on the Italian peninsula to over here. Byzantium renamed Constantinople. Germanic invasions. Starting around 370 CE, large numbers of Germanic tribes began to cross the Rhine and Danube rivers and invade the empire. So the image above shows you the different groups and their routes. All of these different arrows pointing to different areas, different regions of the Roman Empire. These Germanic invasions will be all over the empire. Remember, they don't have enough troops or money to pay troops to defend the whole empire. It is so large. And Constantine made it one empire again. So all of these different invasions are going to take their toll on the Roman Empire. The borders were too long and the army too weak and corrupt to put up an effective resistance. Many of these Germanic tribes were fleeing attacks from the Huns, a nomadic group from Central Asia. Nomadic means moving around constantly, who were invading their land. So this is a depiction of these Germanic tribes invading Rome. They will invade the city of Rome, in fact. In 455 CE, the Vandals, one of these groups, sacked Rome, destroyed Rome, took over Rome. A Vandal the Vandals were a Germanic tribe. Today, it is a common term in our culture that means one who willfully or maliciously defaces or destroys public or private property. So the word Vandal comes from the Vandals who sacked Rome. In 476 CE, the last Roman was kicked out of power by a German general. The Western Roman Empire was finished. However, the Eastern Roman Empire lived on for another 1,000 years, but it becomes known as the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire, whose capital remains Constantinople, is going to be our next unit, Unit 5. So that is effectively the end of the Roman Empire, and the Eastern Roman Empire becomes the Byzantine Empire. The Western Roman Empire falls after the Germanic invasions. And that is the end of this section of notes and the end of Unit 4, Part 2. Please make sure you do answer the essential questions that are found at the end of your notes packet. You never know when those questions are going to come up again. And it's great review for your test.